Hello everyone, welcome to an analysis of dance, where we discuss the movements and debuts of the Billboard Hot Dance charts in immaculate detail, with in-depth reviews of each debut each week. Well, when I said that I wanted an interesting or at least busy week, I didn't expect that this week would be this interesting. I mean seriously, this is a weird week. In the aftermath of Brat finally leaving, our debuts include two artists I never expected would actually come back here, and a remix of a Christmas song from last year, which we'll absolutely get to. But in general, it felt like this chart was really trying to find things to fill in at the bottom, to really fill in for all the Brat songs leaving, and really when the majority of the week was really busy regardless, yeah, it's definitely interesting. Let's talk about it. Sadly though, it doesn't look like that's going to impact our top 10, where Miles On It by Marshmello and Kane Brown is still somehow a number one, and even though it's got more competition than ever nowadays, especially considering it's losing out hard on radio and streaming, it's just way too strong. It's probably going to end up returning to the Hot 100, unfortunately, and really the only competition right now is Apple by Charli XCX at number 2, where it's got good enough streaming, decent radio, but it's starting to stall out there. This might be on its way out soon, and honestly the fact it lasted up this high for this long is kind of surprising in its own way. But then there's 360 by Charli XCX at number 3, where it's actually lingering pretty well on the radio charts, all things considered, but streaming is not really great on this. I don't see this lasting much longer, unfortunately. I mean, this also applies to Guess by Charli XCX featuring Billie Eilish at number 4, although this one's got better streaming but just has no radio support to back it up. Really, once the streaming starts to fall off in record time, this is going to go down with it, unfortunately. But in the big case, that was unfortunately expected. Our top 5 finally has a new song actually hit at number 5. Unfortunately, it's Forever Young by David Guetta, Alphaville, and Ava Max at number 5. And really, this is not good, considering it's only here because of radio and industry support. Man, that's really revealing, the fact that this isn't even debuting on the dance streaming charts yet. This is still really getting radio carried. You can tell that people do not care about this. It's not good either. And somehow I managed to overtake Holiday Road by Kesha at number 6. And look, I don't even like this cover that much. It's a Spotify streaming exclusive, and really Kesha should be above doing this sort of shit. But honestly, I would take it over Forever Young in the top 5, and it's not going to last that long in a couple of weeks, so yeah, not exactly upset about it. But then comes an interesting case, a clear-cut example of the bottom half of the top 10 being boosted up thanks to a certain song exiting, which means that Sympathy is a Knife by Charli XCX featuring Ariana Grande is up to number 7. And really, this doesn't surprise me. It's just more amazing that this is one of the only Brat songs actually left on the charts, considering it's not particularly good or even that liked remix. Yeah, this is actually sticking around pretty okay on streaming, all things considered, but it's not gonna last. And that opens up the door for Move by Adam Port and Stripe featuring Malachi to gain back up from number 8, where it's still got good streaming, and radio's not really picking up on this one, but it is at least holding pretty steady. Then there's Sao Paulo by The Weeknd and Anita at number 9. Honestly, I'm just amazed that this is actually sticking around the top 10, considering the streaming is plummeting on this one, but it does have a little bit of radio support, so it might stick around, you never know. But finally, onto something that, quite frankly, I did not expect would surge up this high at all, surging all the way from its debut position last week. The Day's Notion remix by Crystal is actually up to number 10, and yeah, I have no clue about this one. It seems to have gotten a lot of its momentum organically, considering that the streaming is really strong on this, and considering that the original didn't even do all that well in the UK, the fact that this remix is blowing up at an incredibly fast rate, yeah, that's really promising. I did not expect Notion will get a top 10 hit going into 2025, but yeah, this is really promising. I'd love to see how high this goes. But of course, what triggered this were our falls and fall-offs in particular, where we had a ton of big songs from 2024 finally getting knocked into recurrency and having no chance of coming back. Yes, there was Black Friday, Pretty Like the Sun by Lost Frequencies and Tom Odell, which unfortunately made the year-end list for 2024. And in a particularly bad week for David Guetta, Supernova Love with Ive and Never Going Home Tonight with Alesso and Madison Love both underperformed and are gonna miss the year-end list. I'm not exactly complaining in the former case, but the big story came in the 5 songs that exited from the top 20 at once, where we had 3 Charli XCX songs with Girl So Confusing with Lord, Talk with Troye Sivan, and 365 with Shy Girl, alongside somehow Bulletproof by LaRue, which is stuck way longer than I expected, and the big one, Houdini by Dua Lipa. The number 1 song of 2024 is gone, and really with that, we're gonna have a lot of new fresh faces coming in. That's at least promising. I hope some of them at least challenge for the number 1 soon. And with our only fall being Palm of My Hands by John Summer and Venby down to 43 as a song that's really stuck longer than I expected. Yeah, that's it. Let's move on to the absolute fucking chaos about jumps and comebacks, where we had a fair few songs come back in order to fill in spots, and really these are a mixed bag at best. Yes, It Boy by Big Big No Money came back at 49, and Cave by Dom Dollar and Tove Lo finally rebounded to 44. But along with that, yeah, we had some particularly weird returns for songs that left months ago, like Dyson Roll by Odataria at 40, and Alter Ego by Doichi and JT at 34. I mean, I think these are only here because of sales discounts, because really there's absolutely no reason for both of these to be back this late, especially after they both missed a year unless for 2024, so yeah, I'm not exactly mad that they're back. But if you want the real chaos, yeah, it came in the 17 jumps this week, and thankfully these were a lot easier to spread out into groups. I mean, we had our debuts last week, and while I did already talk about the Day's Notion remix by Crystal surging into number 10, and I'm still shocked that's even a thing, we also had Spooky by Phoenix and DJ Alex up to 33. I mean, it's cool that a 13-year-old's getting an actual hit, but the song's really not good. And on the topic of funk and funk-adjacent songs, Ogre's X saw both of his songs gain, with Aura to 27 and Gloria 35. I can only hope these get caught between years. Then you had the songs that rebounded in the top 25 to kind of fill in space for all the big dropouts, like I Adore You by Hugo, Topic and Arash featuring Daycom at 15, or I Like It by Lester and Nate Smith at 19, or I Only Smoke When I Drink by Namino finally getting into the top 20 at 20, followed by Como LaFleur by Playing Skills, Nate Natasha and Dioro at 21. The fact that this is getting radio carried, it's not good at all. And ending off with the baffling rebound of Now or Never by Bon Jovi and Pitbull, somehow up to 23. This is actually going to be a thing? Really? I mean, it's not a terrible song, but it's so strange to see this actually stick around. Although thankfully ending a little bit normal with Some Days by Sony Federa, Jazzy and D.O.D. at 25. Although this one is actually sticking around a lot better than I expected, considering how late it debuted after being a hit in the UK. I'm not exactly upset about it either, it's growing on me a lot. Then there's the continued gains for Witchy by K-Tronada featuring Charles Gambino up to 28, as well as Dirty Cash Money Talks by Porsa and The Adventures of Stevie V finally getting a big boost to 29. This is actually going to be a hit, that's at least promising. And some welcome gains for Kisses by Bless and Cameron Watson featuring BB Close at 31, and Forever by Hugo and Diplo featuring Malou and Una at 32. Promising, that song's really good, it keeps getting better the more I hear it, so I'm not exactly complaining there. Finally, that leaves the last three, which are outliers that only have been on and off the charts, but have finally gotten a little bit of momentum thanks to stuff falling off above them, with the big ones being What I Want by Sarah Unholy at 37, I mean that's promising, it's a good song, and in a particularly good week for Rascal, Echo with Repiet and Julia Klein is up to 36, and Lost with It's Murph, Twin Diplomacy and Jack August at 39. This might actually be a thing in 2025, I mean it's got more weeks to actually get onto that year-end list, and it's a great song too, that's definitely welcome. And on the topic of unexpected, yeah, these debuts start out particularly weird with number 50, Funk Universo by irokz. Another no-namer with a Brazilian funk song from several months ago that's charting now, with their artist page having 4 versions of the exact same song. Wait, this is the exact same case as last week. Why do we keep doing this? I mean, seriously, these Brazilian funk songs are getting tiring as fuck to talk about. It's not even the fact that they barely change anything up across their tracks, it's also just weird in general that a non-Brazilian is making a song of this style without likely having any respect for the culture that it's actually taking from, and in this case the guy is fucking French. Are you actually kidding me? But anyways, with this one, okay, it's not as bad as the usual Brazilian funk song, mainly because this guy's melodies and synth integration are actually pretty interesting. I mean, in general, the mixing is really bad as the percussion is way too loud and overpowering, and the Brazilian funk style means that every single instrument is clipped to hell and back, and really the song feels underdeveloped in its way. Even if it is over 2 minutes, it's a bit longer than your usual Brazilian funk song, it still feels like it runs out of ideas really quickly, and especially in this case, the Brazilian funk touches feel really out of place, and that's also the big reason why I don't hate this at all, because the synth integration here is genuinely really good, and honestly, if you made this into a traditional house song and ignored all the Brazilian funk touches that ruin the genre, yeah, this would actually be halfway decent. I mean, clearly this guy's got an admiration for the symphonic side of house music, especially with the choral vocals that actually sound really intimidating and dark here, and when you have instrumentation that otherwise sounds okay if you take out all the Brazilian funk touches, it's just more annoying to me that he feels like he has to go down this route in order to actually get a hit. And seriously, this is why this trend is getting tiring. Even more promising names that actually have potential to make good music, they fall victim to this. And with this, yeah, it's okay, but I'm not returning to it. Next, number 48, DJ Play a Christmas Song by Cher and Kelly Clarkson.
Dancing all night long. It's cold outside, but it's warm in here. And that's the only thing I want this year.
Okay, wow, Cher is really desperate to get this song to stick, huh? I mean, I'm not exactly surprised. The original version was her first song to chart on the Hot 100 in several decades, but seriously, at this point, it's just getting sad when you have to remix a song from last year into your Christmas version and bring on Kelly Clarkson of all people on here. It's also a shame too, because DJ Play a Christmas Song is one of those tracks that gets worse the more I think about it. The mixing is terrible, the auto-tune vocals do not work for me whatsoever, and the production in general sounds really cheap. There's a reason that it didn't really come back this year at all, until apparently now with this remix that barely changes anything, besides adding Kelly Clarkson as a glorified backing vocalist, and wow, she makes the song considerably worse. I mean, besides that, you have some extra kicks in the beginning of the track that give it a little bit more groove, but besides that, this whole vocal mix sounds cluttered as all hell, and when you have the production that barely sounds any different from the original track, yeah, it just highlights how incredibly basic and cluttered and dirty this mix sounds. It really does not sound good at all. And when you have Kelly Clarkson oversing on the hook against the auto-tune vocals of Cher, it reminds me a lot of Christina Aguilera's oversinging, and with the production already being bad, yeah, this mix just gets incredibly painful to listen to. It's giving me legitimate headaches, and really with this sort of track, it doesn't work at all. So yeah, this is a really bad remix. I really hope that it doesn't stick around, and really considering the fact that it's only charted now despite being on the sales charts for several weeks, that's kind of indicative of the fact that people don't really care about this, and I agree with them. This is not good. Skip it. Number 46, Come Alive by Grime Knock2 featuring Abi Flynn. This shocks me way more than it really should. I mean, both of these artists have had genuine charting presence across the past few years, especially with Knock2, who had several charting songs last year, but it still does surprise me that even in the aftermath of Brat's album Mom finally falling away and some weaker songs having the ability to chart, that this actually managed to chart at all. And yeah, this is great. I'm not complaining either. The pitch-shifted vocals from Abi Flynn fit the much darker atmosphere really well here, and really the atmosphere in general is just potent as all hell. I really like how this sounds, especially with those dirty and really grimy synths on the verses that sound great, and it's really nice when both artists' styles are able to translate through on the drops here, with Knock2's house drop going incredibly hard with his signature percussion style and those stabby synths that sound great, and Grime ending the track off in a really dark dubstep way with an incredibly menacing sound that I liked a lot. Honestly, the way he ends this track is great. It really does really feel structured as all hell. I mean, it's the sort of track that both of these artists can nail in their sleep, and while it's not exactly my favorite from either, I mean, both have better songs that have come out this year, yeah, this is great regardless. I'm really happy it charted, and while I don't see it sticking around, it is genuinely really good. Definitely worth checking out. Number 45, Stephanie by Cloonee, Young M.A. and InntRaw.
I just want the neck, nothing more. Shorty, make it clap, make it a pro. When you tired of your man, give me a call.
And on the topic of surprises, I mean, I know that this guy's big single with Sip and Yak was able to debut much higher than I think anyone expected, but it still surprises me that he was actually able to follow it up at all, collaborating with a fellow producer in InntRaw and sampling the Young M.A. track Ooh for the vocals, hence the credits, and yeah, this just doesn't work for me at all. I was really disappointed by this one. Not only does it feel like the unique take on tech house that Cloonee had was just completely sucked away here in favor of this minimalistic sound that just doesn't work at all, with the very sparse percussion and bass against a really lacking melody that doesn't sound great at all. But more than anything, this remix reminds me a lot of the Millie remix by Lil Wayne and Side Piece, which was a remix that I didn't like at all, especially when you consider the vocals vocals that are times stretch way longer than they need to, and especially with the halfway points on the track with the drop and the ooze, it just does not sound pleasant at all and really has barely any groove to save it. I mean, I get how this could work in a club setting. It's not bad in that regard. I can see why people would dance to this, but outside of that setting, yeah, I have no use for this really. It's not bad, but it's not particularly good either. And finally, number 41, The Machine by Reed Wonder and Aurora Olivas.
My love, something about you, I can't get enough. I can't get enough. Fell in love with the machine, fell in love with you, baby.
And to end things off, we have Reed Wonder, an artist more associated with trap and R&B than dance, on a label that's also known for said things, with this song coming out last year in March. And are we seriously doing this? I mean, even more bizarrely, this is not a dance song at all. It's more of a trap, R&B and soul cut in a similar vein to Creepin' by Metro Boomin and The Weeknd, and really, this is what you have to chart? I mean, by the standards of that genre, this is actually pretty solid. I do like the vocals quite a bit from Aurora Olivas. She actually does sound really nice here, and her auto-tune does surprisingly fit into this darker atmosphere quite well, especially with the percussion sounding really nice against the bass in this really distant atmosphere where she's given a lot more room to breathe. And it does fit into the concept of singing about falling in love with a machine, where there's that parallel and the lines being drawn between artificial and organic. I can at least see the appeal there. But that's also all there is to this. It's not exactly all that developed nor interesting, and for a chart like this, where this sort of sound is not exactly common, it feels really out of place here. I mean, it's a good song. I don't think it's great by any means. It does feel a bit too repetitive, but yeah, it doesn't fit on this chart at all. There's no reason for it to be here. And that ends off weirdly on this week that was bizarre as all hell. With the worst, yeah, it's going to DJ Play a Christmas Song by Cher and Kelly Clarkson, just a terrible remix. With the best obviously going to Come Alive by Grime Knock2 featuring Abi Flynn. That was pretty much an easy choice here, and on a week this rough, yeah, kind of runs away with it. But next week, yep, Fred again's gonna absolutely bulldoze with his 2 new songs. Hopefully there's some interesting stuff to go along with them. It could make the week at least a little bit better. But yeah, that's all for this episode of An Analysis of Dance. See you next time.